private capacity, straight up.
Yeah.
You've got to remember. You've got to remind yourself that you are a royal subject. You are the Commonwealth in this country. You're it. You're the law. You're the jury. You're everything in this country. You set the rules, the guidelines for them to follow. The Constitution 1901 it says in the preamble who the boss is. That's we. Indissoluble. Can't be changed. That's a given, granted by the royal. The rest of it is the operations manual for a public service to operate in their limited capacity. Now, the problem we have right now is the only Commonwealth office in this country is the Royal Registry de jure. We're not a parliament. We're just a records office. So everything else that we've taken for granted as a government is actually a corporation pretending to be the government. So therefore, they're not the law. They're not the government. We don't have a parliament. So it's left to we the people to deal with the belligerence of a foreign entity that's raping and pillaging, murdering and genociding we the people. And that's basic. That's the basis of everything.
Yeah,
that's putting it bluntly.
That's the guts of it, yeah. And that's what is happening. It's a fact. Yeah. You can see it. Yeah.
Yep. And the fact the country's bankrupt means bills of exchange is the only currency. So when they don't even accept that, that means then there's no debt either, by default. The problem is they've been stealing our house, our cars, stealing our money from the bank account, even garnishing our wages or garnishing the pensions and things like that. Because in their mind, we're their slave. Regardless, sooner or later, we end up paying. They will never back down because in their mind, they don't have to. We're their slaves. Slaves don't have the rights of inalienable rights. We don't have the right to own property because we don't own any. It's all in their fiction creation owns our property, and we need to change that. That's the whole idea of the Royal Registry.
Yeah. I've got one more question on the registration. I know the manufacturing certificate that's taken with the car arriving in the country. Is that
with
something
the manufacturing? No. The manufacturing certificate only applies to registration. So when it's registered,
right.
So if you're registered with Royal Registry, what we've done is use the law of salvage. When you deregister GovCorp, the car now is lost cargo. It's salvageable.
Okay.
And that's what we've done. We then re-registered it under the Crown. We put it into a private trust, a name that they can't find or see, and that now becomes private property. When it's private property, that's trespass. That's common law. That's why if you use fiat money, you're using their currency, bills of exchange and promissory notes. It's their currency. But if you're using currency that is gold and silver, then doesn't fall under their currency laws anymore, because that's under their law private property, which is common law, trespass.
Okay.
You can always send them a DSAR, a data subject access request form, because under law they're supposed to fulfill that. So if you send them a data subject access request form, and ask a range of questions specific. There's another document there asking the top 10 questions ask a bank. We'll put that in that, and you send it to them. By law, they must respond within the time limit you give them. And if they don't, then there's a tacit agreement there that it's fraud. Right?
Yeah.
They must be able to answer those questions. The problem with the land title is the whole system is their system, and they got the straw name on it. The only way you can remove the straw name is to have the straw sell the property to the living entity into your private trust. That way, the title deed then can be transferred over to the Royal Registry Trust. It doesn't get held by the Land Title Office, GovCorp. If you look at the name, on your driver's license, your first, middle, and surname is all full capitals.
Yep.
But on a rate notice from a council, it's only your initials, your first initials, and then your surname in lowercase.
Yep.
Because that's distinguishing a different category for the straw.
Yep.
And that particular description, the way they've written the name, means that you are a pauper, illegal to own property, land. That's what it means. That's the definition of using initials and your surname on a rate notice is you're a pauper. You're breaking the law. That's why they fine you. When they say it's a rate notice for services, it's a load of crap. It's a penalty notice because you're a pauper. You're not allowed to own land, and you've got one in your straw name. So they're billing the straw, they're penalising the straw and fining it every year or quarterly.
But how does that? I totally. You say it all makes sense. How does one practically go about going in? If I find a place to buy, how does that go? Because of course every single accountant and lawyer is just going to look at me with cross-eyed, going, "What are you talking about?" They only deal with straws.
You won't need to deal with them. You can't deal with the straw if you're a living entity. All you can do is the Royal Registry becomes your conveyancer, becomes your legal aid, basically. They will organise. They organise to ensure that the land title is removed from their land title office and comes over into their trust, so to speak, into their care.
So the Royal Registry will be holding my hand.
Yes,
yeah,
that's
perfect,
right.
perfect. Okay,
it becomes
great.
The legal office for virtually everything that's related to the man or woman. But if you're not registered with the Royal Registry, you can forget about getting any help from them because it doesn't work that way. We can't help straws. You've got to be registered, notarized as a living entity. That's the only way we can. The king's office, his office, he can only deal with royal subjects. If you're a royal subject, by that title alone, you are a living man or woman protected under the royal crown. You're not an Australian citizen.
Once the property, this would also go with the vehicle as well. Once the vehicle are owned in the living man's name, are there any restrictions if you were to sell it later on? Can you only sell to another living being within the Royal Registry, or can you sell back to a straw?
No, not at all. You would remove your plates, sell the car to a straw. They would then have to go and get a blue certificate or whatever and re-register it in their straw name. It's not a problem. The vehicle can come in and out.
Straightforward.
Yeah. It's like you as a living entity, you're the beneficiary of the SESQV trust. Why anyone would want to separate themselves from the trust is beyond me, because it's supposed to pay for everything.
Yep.
You can live on both sides of the fence very comfortably. You just have to be fully aware that what benefits exist for a straw, if they're a good benefit, take it. Medicare, passport. If you have a shooter's license, you can buy ammo from a straw bloody gun shop. Yeah, they're benefits that you are entitled to.
Yep.
But if they come after you with a fine or an arrest warrant or a court summons, you're not obliged to accommodate that. It's got nothing to do with you because they're after the straw. They're not after the living entity. So by default, you're a beneficiary of their SQV trust, which is supposed to maintain your sustenance for life. But at the same time, any punishments that come your way, well, that's got nothing to do with you. That's their fiction they created. That's on it, not on you. And the idea of transferring all your private property from your straw name into your private trust means they can't touch it. They can't touch the car. They can't touch your Royal Registry bank account and the money in it. They can't touch your gold or silver that's in your trust. They can't touch a damn bloody thing because your straw, if it's lucky, can only scrape $2 together to pay anything. So what we're offering them is, we'll help you out. There's a debt there created. Yeah. Well, we'll just do a BOE on it, and then you can take it or leave it. Either way, you leave me alone because you're after the straw. You're not after me. That's as simple as that.
Yep, makes sense.
It goes for fines, parking fines, tolls. Once you got your rego plates on your car, there's no more tolls. There's no more speeding fines. There's no more parking fines. It's nothing. They're not relevant to your property. You're in the Commonwealth. You're not in Australia, which we know is New Norfolk.
Yep.
It's trust law. All this is purely trust law, law of commerce, law merchant. Private property is common law. By default, standard. Even they know this because they use UCC. They recognise UCC 1-103, reservation of rights, and UCC 1-308, which is without prejudice. So as a straw, you can sign off and clear debt with a straw signature so long as you put without prejudice with the name or UCC 1-308. That way, they can't go against you if they're using the document to hold you accountable for it. Right? Shred. Yeah. So I hope I helped.
Yeah, that's really cleared a few holes for me.
All right. It's all the name. It's your name and your signature. Everything comes back to your name and your signature. If they say you're Mr. or Mrs. and you say, yes, how can I help you? You've joined it. You are the straw. That makes your job even harder to get out of that predicament. But if you correct them, and this is it, it's correcting them, but not particularly answering specifically to their question. You just ask them a question back. I don't understand what you're asking. Are you referring to the fiction entity that your employer created, or are you talking to the royal subject? And if he has an issue with the registration of the car,
say absolutely nothing. I don't answer questions. Blah blah blah.
Pass contract here. Are you in agreement? Are you in agreement? But wait till they do some damage, because the more damage they do, the bigger the money is. But just go in peace. Don't be argumentative. Make sure you put on the record, I'm here peacefully. I'm not making war with you without prejudice on anything they say or do or present, push in your face. You don't have to sign it. You're a living man and woman. You're not obligated to do what those morons tell you to do. It's as simple as that. And if you don't sign, they have nothing. They only have their straw name. That's it. They don't have you. That's the importance of your name and your signature. You need to stand by it. Some of us have been bruised because of it. But when you see the videos, the YouTube, you think, oh, well, you know, a bit of self-inflicted there. It was handled wrong. You can't be belligerent. You've got to be a lamb. You can't be threatening. You've got to be ignorant, basically, of the law, to your benefit, of course. So,
trying to fit in with
that?
the crowd around. Yeah, walk in there and be ignorant.
If you, it's like say you got invited to a family do, and you turn up, you get a few beers under your belt, and you start acting like a fucking idiot. Your family member's going to ask you to leave, aren't they? Because you can embarrass them. Well, that's exactly what you're walking into in a court. You can't be rude. It's a court room. It's not a court. It's a court room. It's a quorum non judice. Look up the definition. It's a quorum. They even talk. They make references. The magistrate and the prosecutor will occasionally make references to each other in the quorum. They're telling you what that is. It's a room for business, only for commerce. It's got nothing to do with constitution or common law. It's just purely an arbitrating administration conducting business in relation to the fiction, the corporation or person that's been summoned to court. And it needs you, the living, to join it to it so they can steal your shit, because they can only steal the straw car and that by your consent as the living entity. This is how the system works. This is the fraud that's in play from the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep. You're a criminal because everything they're forcing you to do, to how to live, they're forcing you to break the law.
Yeah. Well, that's what a license is, isn't it? It's permission to do something that would now be illegal. So it's like permission to break God's law.
And it's not ID. A driver's license is not ID. It's purely a proof of competency to operate a machine on the road. That's all it is. It's that you're competent enough to be on the road to share with everybody else. Driver's license used to have on the back, I don't know if it still does, used to say can't be used as ID. So the first thing the copper says is, give me your license. Give me your ID. And you give him a driver's license. What have you just done? He's tricked you into breaking the law using somebody else's ID as your own. And it says on there you can't use it as ID, so you're using it as ID. You're breaking their law, their rule. So every time their mouth is open, I can guarantee you, right, they're lying. It's a trick. Don't fall for it. I don't understand what you mean. What license? What is a license? What? To transport myself on my Commonwealth Road, I need a statute license. The license is not even in my name. What do you want that for? I'm just the custodian of the public trust that your employer created from a birth certificate fraudulently.
You've probably seen a lot of movies, and that's how they're hacking. Yeah. Going, oh, this is all just confusing, this is overwhelming and all that. Relax, get a cup of coffee, cup of tea, relax, do a bit of a thing, what do you call it, where yoga maybe, just to relax the mind a bit, and then just read the document just for what it is. It's just something to read. No different than if they were taking up a book to read. Just read it. Brain will act as a sponge. It will take in and logically put into place in your mind who you actually are. I'm the beneficiary, the title holder of that trust that you're billing. I've sent it back to you. I've given you the instructions what to do with that document. You just receive it into your accounts receivable ledger. And then the next time you run down to the bank with all the other checks and that paid by other people, you include that in there. The bank will accept it over the counter as a check, as a payment.
Right.
We don't have currency in this country.
No.
It's all fiat. It's all, I promise to pay you. And yet that docket is being passed from one person to the next, all the way up the line until it reaches your CQV trust, and then they balance the account out. It's, oh, God.